the fact that some of the adoption papers, there's a lot of inconsistencies. The guardianship paperwork, there's a lot of inconsistencies or lies.
LIEnette claims that she legally adopted this child that's in her care, but the biological family is finally coming forward to debunk all the lies and filing lawsuit to reverse the adoption.
We're privileged to actually be here with the child's biological aunts. What are you guys' names?
Jessica.
Olga.
Jessica and Olga.
Hi, ladies.
So
Hi.
privileged to have you here with us. We've been in communication for quite some time now, and this is the first time you have communicated a desire to go public with your side of this story. I got a big question for you, and go ahead, hit it out of the park, a home run. Why now, of all times where all of this has been shared in Otter Creek with LIEnette and Crook and the child, why come public now?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, you could take it.
So we wanted to do a lot of investigating for our own selves to see a true and accurate picture of the environment that Harley's living in. You know, it was all the YouTube stuff that we were seeing really accurate? You know, was the stuff that she was sending Olga really accurate, you know, messages and pictures? So it took us some time to investigate once we were enlightened about the whole situation to begin with. Once we even heard that there was issues of the way she was living, that's when we started investigating and led us to the point we are at now.
I got a follow-up question, and I know George is going to have some too. Actually, I have two follow-up questions. You mentioned what LIEnette was sending to Olga, and then you mentioned your investigation. So my question is, number one, what was LIEnette sending to Olga? And number two, what did you actually find as you were investigating?
So before the fact that I actually found out about what the hells, she actually brought that to my attention. But before then, there was a video because I was actually friends with her on Facebook, and she had posted a video of herself going live and speaking about John CROOK, how she had a problem with the fact that Harley would sit on him and straddle him, and he wears shorts, and she was afraid that his private parts were going to fall out and all of this extra stuff. And I'm like, hold on, like, who does that? Who goes on live and talks about things like that? Like, that creeped me out.
It's
So
very
I
confusing.
actually, yeah. So I had like, because I have custody of Harley's sister. So she got in contact with me through that. I guess she found out through Vera or whoever, but she started contacting me on social media saying that she wanted to have some type of involvement because she knew that I had the baby and that she wanted them to be like siblings and grow up to know each other, even if it was like through via a video or whatever, because of her sickness or whatever. She couldn't like physically see us like that, but some type of bond or relationship she wanted. So like I would talk to her. She would hit me up with problems that she was having. Also, I've sent her money for Harley a couple of times, telling me bad situations. And I feel bad. It's my niece, regardless of her being adopted or whatever. I'm like, oh, well, if I can help, then, I mean, I don't have it like that, but we'll do whatever I can do. But after that video, I came to my sister-in-law's because we like pair up. Like I said, I also have her sibling. And so for me to be able to work, Jessica watches the baby on the weekends for me. I have a weird schedule and it works out. We bounce off of each other. Joking matter, I call her my baby daddy. But other than that, like I seen the video, brought it to Jessica, like there's something up with this lady. Like, who does that?
Did you screen record that video by chance?
So we did, and we ended up like talking and discussing about it. And then we moved to the fact of calling CPS about it. CPS did nothing. We called CPS a handful of times, nothing being done, which really bothers me because I had to go through CPS here in New Jersey to be able to obtain the child that I have. And the things that I had to go through to even be able to get her were crazy. So I don't understand how a child can be in this type of environment with these type of people and nothing's being done by CPS at all. Then
And to clarify, the video that you're stating that you watched was LIEnette's own video. This was not a What the Hell.
This was done live on Facebook. She posted a live video about it. Once we started questioning things and stuff like that, and CPS got called and they did like go follow up and do all of that, she took the video down. So,
as you know, there's enormous amounts of information when it comes to LIEnette.
Oh my goodness,
absolutely.
It never stops.
The enormous amount of concerning posts that she puts on a third-party platform such as Facebook and Instagram.
She had a lot of things on Facebook that were alarming.
Never mind all the time that she spends on Facebook a day. What is going on with Harley? Where is Harley at while she's doing all that for probably hours on end throughout the day?
Right.
So is that part of your investigative process that you were going through before you wanted to come public? I mean, what else did you find? I mean, you're saying things like, where's Harley? Why is this woman on Facebook 24/7 instead of raising a child?
We found a lot of information out over the course of the investigation, which led us here. So the fact that some of the adoption papers, there's a lot of inconsistencies. The guardianship paperwork, there's a lot of inconsistencies or lies.
For example, one thing that I can think of on the guardianship paperwork, one of the questions was, have you ever been a guardian to anyone else in the past?
Yeah,
and she put out a lot of lies on that paperwork. There's definitely a lot of lies on that paperwork. Has she ever been arrested?
Yeah, her whole criminal history.
All of that or whatever. They're all lies.
Then there was supposed to be the home study that was done by the adoption center, which should have included background checks and fingerprints. And all that stuff was left out of the filing of the court documents, which, also raised concerns to me. You list a home study, but you don't list something as important as fingerprints or a background check of a person adopting a child. So that kind of makes me look at the adoption center. Did they do that? So we have to get answers to all of that to try to overturn the adoption. So
what was the most concerning thing with your investigative process that came up to you? You went, whoa, this is too much, too far.
I can't say there was just one. There's just multiple things. Every time you turn around, it's something else. And then you're like, wow, like.
Definitely for me, I want to say that it was the whole paperwork that came out about Ashley. And her being taken away from LIEnette when everything was like put down with, going to the therapist and the therapist saying everything that he was saying about her. Like, how could you be able to adopt a child when this child was your stepchild and got taken away from you? Like, even the therapist was saying that you are a bad parent and her mental wasn't good and a lot of things. Like, I'm like, nobody did an investigation to find that out. Like, that never popped up. I think a lot of things were done where she shouldn't have been able to do them, but I think a lot of things got pushed through because of COVID as well.
Agreed. Yeah. And not to mention the name that she used in Iowa.
After her million names.
When she
Like,
was
there's so many names.
yes, very, which is also very concerning.
Right.
The name that she used when she was the guardian of Ashley in a different state.
Right. There's a lot of things that were done in a different state that I guess were not popping up because of the fact that she has different names, different aliases everywhere.
My expectation is the aliases are on purpose. She changes her name on purpose. Scam Cons moves on. Scan Coms moves on. Scan Coms moves on. Are you guys feeling the same thing, or am I alone?
No, definitely, because there's so many GoFundMe's out there. Like, I can't even, I've seen at least 10, 15 of them for Harley.
Exploiting the child, I think, is sickening.
Right.
Or
every time I explain this situation to like a friend or something like that, because nobody really believes us. Like, they're like, what? Really? Like, it's like mind blowing. But I think it's like the Gypsy Rose case, honestly. Like, she has mental issues. I believe that she is using my niece as a target to get money for people to feel bad for her. She definitely, like, she's money hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell everything has to do with money.
Yes.
Even her, like, recently with everything that's going on with you guys, she was like trying to get me to send her money to possibly help out with a lawyer. I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. Like, where am I supposed to get that from?
But just the asking. So
it's always something. Never really too much information about Harley. It's a problem. And then she needs help with something. But feed me a little bit of information about Harley and then throw that in there. Like,
so I know I have a ton of questions, and there's a ton of questions and a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of questions that I've had for a long time since I learned that a super fan she went by the name of Michelle, bought property across the street from our 70 acres here in Otter Creek. That's when the questions arose. And so, throughout learning her behavior online, and then family members such as yourselves, extended family, coming forward and coming to us and expressing the same concerns we have, and that it's not just us, that other people are noticing it too. I've learned that Harley does have other siblings, but from my understanding, those siblings are also with extended family, correct?
So,
right, without naming any names or where anyone's living, I know that Vera and LIEnette met here in Florida. So she's the maternal grandmother, and she has the two oldest, correct?
Yeah, she has the two oldest. Two were adopted out. Okay. And then Harley was adopted, and then I have sole custody of the last one.
Okay. And then Harley has a half brother, which, Jessica, you have custody of him, correct?
No, he was living with me, one of her half brothers, but yes, there's other half siblings, and they're all very close with the family.
Right.
So we keep it like, I kind of keep it tight knit with all of the brothers and sisters' kids. So my house is like an open door for all 20, 30 of the nieces and nephews that ever need anything, or a place to crash, or any, my to eat. My house is always the one they'll be at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it sounds like family is extremely important to you.
Yeah, we have a very big family, very family oriented. All the kids are always all together most of the time. There's a lot of cousins. There's a total of 10 children alone, with Harley being one of them that my brother had, but 6 were with his wife that are basically all together, and then 4 was previous to his marriage with his current wife.
So family being so important to you, I got to ask the question, how do you feel, number one, that the child, and I want to clarify, I am not calling her the child because I want to. She has a name. She is precious in God's sight. But because of my legal issues, I'm going to refer to her as the child. You refer to her any way you want, please. But how does it make you feel knowing that this child is born and then all of a sudden this child is with somebody,
a complete stranger?
I mean, so I guess talk to me through that process of how you learned about it and what happened. I mean, the planet is literally wondering, how in the world did LIEnette and Crook get this baby?
She basically manipulated the grandmother into thinking that she was going to let her be a part of her life so she could be close to her other siblings. And then soon as she gained custody, she packed up and moved away and turned on the grandmother.
When did you learn about all of this? And how did it make you feel? Really, I want to know how it makes you feel.
It's just crazy to me that nobody really knew this woman, and yet they let her get adopted by a stranger. But then my other concern was, where was the state of Florida during this? Why didn't they take control of that situation, and maybe things would have been different?
So when did you learn about the adoption?
Not till after it was said and done.
I actually knew more about the adoption probably because of the fact that the biological grandmother was contacting me about things for, I guess, my brother and his wife to sign, but nobody was like getting in contact back with them. And then I didn't hear no other things, but besides when LIEnette had like contacted me via social media herself.
So was there ever an option for Jessica, you, or Olga, you to actually adopt the child?
No.
Nope.
Wow. Wow.
I think that the state of Florida did a lot of different things than what New Jersey does. Like here in New Jersey, if she was born here in New Jersey, we would have had the option. But because they were in Florida or whatever, we didn't have an option.
I do remember a time where I was physically on LIEnette's property and just remembering how big of a dump it was, which the property was known to be a dump for at least 10+ years. She bought it that way. It was a dump. It was the location where people would just dump their trash.
But then she made it even worse.
And I remember her talking to me about how she raised 8 children on her own. She was always a single mom, and how she raised 23 grandchildren on her own. And that Vera was her best friend, and she knew her inside and out and knew how great she was with children. And it made it like I was under the impression that Vera and LIEnette were good friends, and they had been working together for years with like foster care. Because I remember her telling
manipulation at work.
Right.
I remember her telling me that her best friend came up to her and said, "I need one more favor. Can you take in one more child for me? And I promise I won't ask you again." And the way she was explaining the story, it sounded like LIEnette was constantly doing foster care in a favor for Vera. And then she said, she's my best friend, and she wanted me to adopt her granddaughter. So do you know how long Vera and LIEnette knew each other before?
I don't think it was long.
No.
I don't think it was long.
Less than 6 months, maybe.
Maybe.
They met on Facebook.
And they met on Facebook. So I did know that. I later learned that afterwards.
Right.
And I'm just sitting back and thinking like, wow, I can't believe she just straight up lied to me like that. That's a fabricated story to lie about.
Yeah.
And then come to find out they're not best friends, and they were two people that met briefly online, and I feel like LIEnette swindled her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Because later on, I also learned from family and extended family that she is known to want to take other people's children.
Yeah, we've learned that recently too.
Right. Throughout our investigation. Yeah.
LIEnette calls everyone her best friend until she gets what she wants, doesn't she?
Right. Because I was her best friend too for a while, and then, you know, she blocked me and whatever. And then she unblocks me.
To ask you for money, correct?
Right. She blocks me, gives me a little bit of information, blah, 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 and then blocks me again. And then I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I legally don't have to. Like, lady, I know this. And at the end of the day, you're the one that contacts me. I don't contact you. So
she'll bait you with information with the child, beg for money, and then block you.
Right.
So she baits, she begs, and then she blocks. That's her MO.
So she only contacts you when it's convenient for her, when she needs something, especially money.
Or if there's something else going wrong and she's scared at the moment and she feels as though that we're going to come after her, she like says 1,000,001 things to try to see what she can get out of me, and then she'll block me again when she doesn't get the answer she wants.
Wow. Do you feel, obviously she manipulated Vera on Facebook.
Most definitely.
And frankly, I'm disgusted that that there could ever be an adoption through Facebook acquaintances such as this. And I'm sure you are as well. How has she manipulated?
Children fall through the cracks in the government and end up sex trafficked and locked in cages in people's backyards, and it's sad to say that it really happens.
It's absolutely horrific. Can you pinpoint things that she's manipulated you to as well with? You know, any examples you can give? And I know it's so much information to try.
I try not to have contact with her, to be honest. I think I only probably had contact with her on a phone conversation one time, and I kind of just played along with her stories just to hear where she was at, you know. So that was another one of my investigations, you know. Let me talk to her myself and see how our conversation goes. And yeah.
And did it give you bad feelings?
Continue investigating.
Yeah.
Keep investigating.
Definitely a narcissist, for sure. Like, she mind blows me with a lot of things that she says, and it's crazy to me that 1 minute or whatever, like I said, I could be her best friend and she wants to talk to me and she wants to tell me about Harley, and then the next minute she's accusing me of me trying to get Harley, and then the next 5 minutes it's like, oh well, here goes a picture, she's doing fine, but I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Block.
What about Crook? Have you guys had any?
Never talked to him. Never. I've never talked to him at all.
Well, I'm going to give you a heads up. He's a very vile individual, and I think you're better for not talking to him.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why she made that video, that she felt uncomfortable with him letting the child straddle him while he's shirtless and doesn't wear underwear.
Right.
I mean, that kind of speaks volumes. And
he's very abusive and verbally abusive. And it's like, okay. And then you call CPS. CPS does nothing. Like,
So I recall she made another live video where she went live and she talked about how the man that she shares a property with 50-50 is verbally and emotionally abusive to her. And that particular video, and she also talks about how John almost killed the baby and he gave her RSV, and that she ended up getting seizures and ended up with the feeding tube, and he's the reason why she's sick. But then it's inconsistent as to why the child needs to be away from other people.
I don't
Because
understand how.
if I remember correctly, when she lived in Northport, she had a newspaper article written where Harley was with her 2 biological siblings. I actually have a
Oh, yeah.
picture of that.
Oh yeah. She did allow Vera to have the other 2 biological siblings around for a little period of the time.
Yeah, not long. Maybe I'm gonna say maybe a month and a half at tops. Maybe.
Yeah.
It wasn't very long.
She was only allowed to visit a couple times where
Because
Vera-
then she tried to say that Vera was bringing the children over there and they were sick and it was going to get Harley sick, which they didn't care if it could kill her.
Yeah.
Well, we have a screenshot.
That's why she packed up and moved.
Yeah.
We have a screenshot of LIEnette calling the kids snot-nosed brats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How is that apparent?
And then alienating her from her own biological siblings when they weren't the ones who got her sick. It was John who got the child sick.
Living in the shed.
Living in a shed.
Ladies, please tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Living in a shed. Number 1, my niece is 4 years old and is still not potty trained. No running water. She's still in a diaper.
She's not getting the occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, all these important things that with her disorder she needs to be getting.
She definitely has sent me pictures of, I don't know, I don't even know what you would call it, but that's how she gets water. The baby sleeps in a hammock, I believe, or whatever, that she has put the baby in the hospital due to storms because of the fact that she doesn't have a proper living environment for her when it comes to a bad storm there in Florida. Like,
yeah, it's been a coincidence that every time a hurricane is getting ready to hit and
to the
people need to
hospital.
evacuate, all of a sudden the child is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same thing.
Yeah, so when she sends the pictures to Olga, she really kind of crops out the back of them so you can't see what's in the background at this point and anymore. Like only one we can make out that she's actually sitting in a hammock from her Easter picture that she sent.
Yeah, she just unblocked me
And
the
you could
other
tell
day.
she's sitting in the hammock, but that's all you could see out of the picture. And last I knew, the hammock was in the shed.
Yeah.
Correct. There's a hammock or 2 in the shed. That is correct.
Mhm.
Last week.
This is still where she's residing, because we've heard a couple stories along the way about another camper being there, and that's where they were going to stay, so they didn't have to live with John. But yet, then we see the pictures of her being in a hammock, which was in the shed. So, are they still living in the shed?
Yes.
So yes, they are still in the shed, and understand the separation is based on children's services being involved or family services being involved and separating them. So I can't give 100% evidence and proof to you, but you obviously, when children's services or family services get involved, they create a case plan. And part of that case plan, you have to do this, this, and this until that plan is closed. Well, it's complete and total separation between LIEnette and Crook. Okay. And so this is just common sense looking at the total picture and going, oh, duh. All right. So children's services came in, created a case plan, said they needed to separate. Why's Crook in the camper with running water and a bathroom and air conditioning, but the child is in a shed?
Especially this child that has a life-threatening
disorder.
Right. And she shed, as she calls it to me.
And that's okay by the family services in the state of Florida.
But it shouldn't be, because it's
agree.
Not at all.
In Florida, there's no occupancy permit. They have no occupancy permit for anything. So what they did is they've actually scammed another individual that was living in a camper nearby around the corner at a campground. They said, hey, come on over here. You can live for free. He's supposed to go and live with his daughter, and it was supposed to be a couple months. Now the story is changing. It's going to be this summer, and then they're going to get this camper for $1.
He keeps on inviting to her property. Like, that's mind blowing to me. Like, You don't know these people from Adam.
But they're okay enough to be around Harley.
Exactly. Remember, Harley can't be around anybody or
Nobody.
die. Right? That's the story we hear nonstop.
Right.
So whether this man, Lloyd, actually removes himself from the property, actually gifts the camper to them, it doesn't matter. They do not have a permit to operate a campground. Both campers are illegal on the property right now. Our lawyers are working with Levy County to remove them both. So I don't think that's going to give you any more comfort, because I'm sure you'd rather see the child in the camper with running water, toilet, and AC. But every move they make is another incriminating move.
My thing is that she showed me all these floor plans of a home that was supposed to be built, and they sold their other home where they were living previously. What happened to all the money? How did you end up just in a camper on a piece of land?
That's a good question, because when looking at her guardianship paperwork, she included how much she's getting in Social Security, which was a little over $800, and she never had money. I think her entire goal of moving here was to be close to him, to utilize his fan base for free publicity for her turtle rescue, to use the fan base to raise money to build the home. Because right now, the only thing that she's had money to build is the concrete slab and the outer shell. That's it. There's nothing on the inside because she doesn't have the funds. And we have screenshots that she has sent one of the locals here that she needs $15,000, and that she wishes his fan base, she wants him to help her and the fan base raise money to help her finish her house.
Yeah, well, she definitely has like a common thing with using people.
As you see Harley's living conditions, what thoughts go through your minds?
It's sad.
Very sad.
Concerning.
I definitely believe that she would be better off with being with family. We actually care about her. We definitely want to see her well-being, with her being taken care of and doing all the things that she needs to be, sitting there being in therapy and speech therapy and being potty trained and all of that. I believe loved. Definitely loved is number one.
Loved with hugs and kisses and not yelled at.
And not just a paycheck, a monthly.
And not just a paycheck.
She's a person. She's a person, not a paycheck.
This conversation is just getting started, and we're about to transition into the legalities of filing a lawsuit. And you can help. As a matter of fact, they have a GoFundMe right now, and we're going to pin that in our pinned comments. We encourage you to help save the child.